It is a minute past 9 o'clock here on Tuesday, April 4th. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We have a pretty robust agenda here today. We'll begin with the approval of the minutes from the Tuesday, March 21st board meeting. Is there any modifications? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make the motion.
We have
I'll
a
second that.
motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Halden. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, next we have the approval of the committee minutes from the Elections Committee of the whole on March 27th. Any modifications? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have two Personnel Committee minutes on the 321 and 328. We can either pass them collectively or individually. If there's any modifications at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for both those meetings.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes approved unanimously. Today's agenda, I understand there's one item that we're petitioning on petitioning on a letter of support.
Yes, Mr. Chair, would like to add a letter of support, or actually a statement somewhat against the language that's recently been proposed on House File 2887. I believe letters were handed out, and this has been a discussion amongst the 94 West Coalition and other transportation groups with some concerns about what's put in there would make it very difficult for us to do road projects. So.
A letter of concern, not a letter of support, all right. Letter of concern will be under items for consideration C. All right. Is there anything else that would need to be added or modified from today's agenda? If there's not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Catchmark. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved unanimously. Today's consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove anything from today's consent agenda for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dietrich.
You hear voices.
We're good? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda is approved unanimously. Moving on to the timed item for 9:02 here. We're just a minute or two behind. We have Tracy Janikula here from Planning and Zoning for the annual feedlot report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Tracy Janikula, the Wright County Feedlot Program Administrator. My job is also called the Feedlot Officer at the state level, based on the Minnesota Rule 7020, which is the feedlot rule. I'm here to give you an overview and obtain a signature on my 2022 County Feedlot Annual Report. Wright County receives funds from a grant from the state based on the number of feedlots required to be registered by the state. Feedlot rule requires registration of feedlots with 10 or more animal units in shoreland, of which is 1,000 feet of a lake or 300 feet of a river or stream, or 50 animal units outside of shoreland. Animal unit factors are determined by the state. An example of one animal unit is a cow or a horse. Smaller species have different animal units, so we take 333 laying hens or 10 sheep to equal one animal unit. We had 248 state-registered feedlot sites in 2022. The county received $27,579 in grant money for 2022 to administer that program. Wright County ordinance requires registration for all feedlots, 10 animal units or more. There are 374 farms that meet this criterion. A rundown of farms by their predominant species is as follows: 2 in swine, 2 very large sites of just laying hens, 2 pheasant, 3 turkey, 3 deer and/or elk, 5 sheep, 45 registered sites with primarily horses, 63 dairies, of which about half also raise steers, and over 220 beef farms. There are also about 30 sites with a wide variety of species. Feedlot registrations are updated on a rotational schedule, updated about every 4 years. Of the 248 sites required to be registered by the state, I did inspections at 21 sites last year. 4 sites were within shoreland and 10 to 49 animal units. 15 sites had 50 to 299 animal units, and 3 of those sites were also in shoreland. There were also 2 sites inspected to close out construction projects from the previous year. Both of those were also within shoreland. Our delegation agreement requires that I obtain at least 18 hours of continuing education each year. In 2022, I had 50.75 total training hours. The Pollution Control Agency conducts a WebEx once a month. We also have an annual training in March. It's a 3-day conference. I also attended an in-depth nutrient management seminar in May. I'm a member of the county programs team and an alternate delegate on the county feedlot officers board. I grew up on a farm that my great-great-grandfather, Herman Deers, homesteaded in 1874, south of Waverly. My sister and her husband currently farm with the help of their daughters, my mom and dad, me, and several employees. We currently have dairy cows and heifers, with a few beef cows thrown in my niece's FFA project. So if you ever get to the county fair, stop in and see some of our show cows. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Minnesota, and I've been a feedlot program administrator for 22 years. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to say thank you. That's a wonderful presentation. Quick question on when you do the inspections, are you looking for compliance, or what are you looking at when you go and do your inspections?
Usually it is compliance, water quality based. Some of it is record keeping. If they have over 100 animal units, they are supposed to keep manure application records. Some do, some don't. It's a lot of training that goes into it. I give handouts on how to sample manure, proper application of manure on the fields, and the record-keeping forms. The larger feedlots also have to do soil testing. 2 of the inspections I did last year were construction, because they'd done projects the year before, new barns.
Okay, thank you.
One question that I have had is, what's our number of feedlots been over the last 6-7 years? Have we seen that number kind of decline, steady, or increase?
With the registration update every 4 years, we lose about 20 feedlots every 4 years.
Which I guess in a Collar County to the metro and urbanization, I suppose that's probably the common practice, so.
It is actually quite common throughout the whole state. Our funding has been flat, I believe, since 2013 from the state. And as the feedlot numbers throughout the state have gone down, that 27,000 that Wright County gets has pretty much, it's been 27 to 28 for many, many years because everybody's number has been going down.
So it's more of a consolidation in efforts is what it is. So instead of having 3 feedlots, they end up going into one just large one.
Yeah, and dairies especially are very challenging, and they are getting quite large. Swine, excuse me, swine is also very much it's just the big guys.
Well, I appreciate that information. Is there any other questions from the board? Otherwise, I'll entertain
Chair.
a motion. Okay.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Good morning, Tracy. And you hosted Breakfast on the Farm 2 years ago,
We did, yes.
which is a good event, and this year it'll be in the neighborhood too of another farm. But big crowd, that was a nice event. So by your numbers here, if you inspected 21 feedlots last year, so that's about one every other week or so. And that would that mean that with the number of 248 in the county, that feedlot could expect to be inspected about once every 12 years or so?
Yes, if they weren't doing construction or had an ongoing concern, yes.
So otherwise, it's complaint driven to a point that would drive you to get there sooner than later.
Most of the complaints I receive are manure application based, and those would be more the record keeping and teaching where not to put it.
Okay. But otherwise, a farmer could expect to be on a random process once every 12 years potentially would be looked at.
Yes,
Is that the logic?
yeah, it's geared towards the ones that maybe have the most water nearby. So they might be done a few more times just to keep track. but-
Okay. I know you were in last year saying that the inspections were down because of COVID. Do you happen to remember how many you did in 2021?
I did 20 of them,
Okay,
yeah,
so we went up one anyway.
yeah.
Post-COVID, maybe.
In 2020, it was 19.
Oh, all right, so you're pretty consistent, Tracy. All right, well, thank you.
Mr. Chair, mine is more a comment. People are just probably getting to know a little bit more about this today, maybe for the first time, not knowing for sure. But with my experience with the city, I know that you have a very hard job, and just want you to know that I appreciate it. Worked with you through other avenues, but I know you're there. I know you're making a difference, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, we have a MOU with St. Michael for their feedlot stuff, so. I have state delegated jobs, but when it comes to, say, somebody doing construction in St. Michael, then they kind of consult with me. But I don't, it's not in our planning and zoning office, so I'm not aware of it otherwise, but, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
Very good. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept and sign the 2022 County Feedlot Officers Annual Report.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, motion by Commissioner Ketchmark,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Commissioners.
The report is passed unanimously. Coming up to our 9:12 agenda item, we have the approval of a preparation of a highway right-of-way plat by county surveyor for County Road 148.
Good morning, Commissioners. We just have I'm filling in for Virgil today. He's out sick today, so we just have one item here today. It's, as Commissioner Vetch referenced, the approval of preparation of the highway plat by our county surveyor for the County Road 148, which is Braddock Avenue, right out here. So based on that plat, we'll define the actual property limits for acquisition. So we're just asking for approval to proceed with preparing the plat.
Any questions from the board? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane, for the approval of a preparation for the right-of-way plat by county surveyors for County Road 148. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Coming up here, we gotta wait till the while set. We're gonna skip item C. We're gonna move on to items for consideration. We have, the first would be refer items to the county board workshop.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, next week is our workshop. Had contact from a few different outside entities that had wished to be in front of the board and thought that this would be a good opportunity. The first being the Central Minnesota Council on Aging had reached out wanting to discuss the allocation formula for the Older Americans Act. Lori wanted to come out and present on that in front of the board. Additionally, Great River Regional Library, which we are a part of that system, wanted to give kind of a recap of 2022 activities as they come in front of the board every year annually. And then, of course, the other standing item, schedule meetings as needed. I know we'll have a few things that will need to be scheduled at that meeting next week. So if there are other items, we can discuss those now.
Is there any other items that the board would wish to discuss at next week's workshop?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a question, I guess. Is there anything worth on a progress report to talk about the phone bill, the service, the inventory, the billing? I haven't heard anything in a while. Is there anything?
We could bring an update to the committee if that would be good.
I don't know. I don't want to force it if there is anything, but if
Sure.
there's,
I don't have an update at the moment, so
okay.
we can bring something.
Well, pending if there's a worthwhile update, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, do you think we could have just like a recap too for the new gals here, about the dental clinic? I don't know, like if, somebody could just give a presentation about how it came to be and where it's going and how we're utilizing it? I've heard great things about it.
Very good. All right. With that, we have the items. You got the information?
I think I got it.
I don't think we historically have actually made motions for the approval of those. It's just mostly informational. Item number 2 would be to approve the LG 220 application for exempt permit for charitable gambling. This is an annual application that comes forward for the events in Clearwater.
Yes, as you mentioned, this is from the Silver Bullet Saddle Club. We do see this one annually, so just requires action of the board to approve this for their annual event. The application is in the packet if you have questions on that. Otherwise, I just look for a motion of approval.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The gambling permit is passed unanimously. Coming up here, we have the committee recommendations from this previous week. The starting off would be, the first one would be the recommendations from our committee of the whole on 321, or sorry, not committee of the whole, the personnel committee from the 321. So the recommendations were to hire an additional property appraiser. This was, as you've seen, as part of the minutes, related to some private ones that are no longer going to be doing the assessing. And now it'll be turned over to the county assessors. So to be able to meet that increase in capacity, the additional staff would be needed. The other one, second recommendation, was to approve and begin the process of executing a highway department transition plan. So then that one means to create an internal position posting for the highway engineer. Projects administration organizational structure, to create a business analyst 1 position was the third recommendation. The fourth was the budget analyst position request, and then the fifth item was the human resource technician, and item number 6 was the Oracle database. The recommendation for all those ones were to schedule a committee of the whole to discuss those 4 different positions as a board collectively, as it has a lot of impacts to the county. And myself and Commissioner Shane felt that this is a conversation that we need to talk about as a board holistically.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that effort to bring that to the committee of the whole for those items. I just wanted to discuss a little bit based on constituent feedback, item 2, if we could, the highway department transition plan. And the constituents are basically split on the idea of going internally initially versus a nationwide search per se. So I'm not going to oppose the recommendation, but my question is for the consistency part and the process part that came up in talking to constituents about this is, what is that process look like, and are we consistent? I'll just use an example of an upcoming retirement at the front desk for a receptionist. Is that, now it's not the highest ranking spot around for a 6-figure salary, but you could potentially have someone that wants to do a lateral move from someplace to say, I'd like to try that job. So how is that one and others going to be looked at as far as posting internally first or putting the nationwide help wanted sign out? I'm just wondering how that works.
So Commissioner Catchmark, good questions. We discussed this kind of at length at the Personnel Committee. To your primary example, that would be an entry-level position in the county, all entry-level, and even levels above that are all posted externally. Now, we have a practice of all over the place from department heads and upper management positions that, depending on the position itself, the county has in a lot of times done internal only, as well as we have done external for department heads or division heads as well. So we don't have a solidified practice per se for that.
Okay, well, that was just some of the feedback was, what is that, and should we or do we have something like that? And apparently we don't, it's case by case, but I wasn't there for the meeting, so I just thought it was worth discussing as a group here. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think what it, like, as far as like the school board, it would kind of be like if you had a principal or an administrator from a school, like, then case by case, they kind of go every year. Every school does it differently. Some, know they have a good candidate and they'll just, work themselves up, or some of them will just go and say, we don't really know if we have anybody interested, so they go out. And I think that, it'll be nice to have a discussion as to what we do for following, because I'm sure this is gonna happen more often than not.
Mr. Chair, as well as the candidate still has to be qualified, whether it's posted internally, externally, it's qualifications, and if they're meeting those.
Correct.
And good fit for the job.
All right. So is there any other questions about the recommendations from the Personnel Committee? This would actually cover the 21st and 28th Personnel Committee recommendations. So this was, the 28th was a follow-up from the 21st, which was also bringing forward to have a comprehensive presentation to deliver to the county board regarding the holistic approach to ERP and the needs and the anticipated future, which encompasses those positions that we talked about, the budget analyst position, the human resource technician, and then the Oracle database administrator. Those are all not driven by the ERP, but they have to do with ERP. Those positions, I want to make sure was articulated. They were going to be needed whether we had an ERP system or not, but they are tangential to the ERP, and we wanted to have a discussion about how those positions bolster the ERP and how they would have maybe how they would have still been needed without an ERP as well. So really trying to debunk the myth that these positions are all being driven by the ERP system. That is not the case. We want to make sure that the whole board understands that these positions were going to be a necessity because of the growth of the county and the size of our institution. And to be able to meet the demands of the institution, these positions are necessary. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Personnel Committee minutes, or recommendations from the 21st and 28th.
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. On March 27th at 3 o'clock, we had a very good presentation. I applaud the election staff in putting together a lot of good information for a discussion. The recommendation was informational only, so there's no action because the minutes had already been approved earlier in the meeting, but just wanted to bring forward the conversation in case the board had any further discussion on the matter. No. All right. We are still a little early here yet. We have about 20 minutes, and I don't believe, because it's a timed item and we're putting on a separate hat, that I don't think we can move early on it. What? We'll need to adjourn. We'll have to adjourn. We'll go to the advisory updates at this time. We'll start on this side.
Nope, start on that side. I have to go grab my.
Okay, here, all right, sounds good. I guess we'll start on this side then. The one time I choose that side, right? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, thanks. Item number C, I almost skipped over it, the petitioned item, a letter of concern regarding House File 28, what is it, 28?
288.
2887.
Yeah, 2887. I guess who wants to, Nadine, Commissioner Shane, are you the spokes, or?
I can start it off just speaking to it. This was recently introduced in discussions with our transportation partners. This is raising some concerns about the ability to, they're putting some restrictions on what is believed to be some emissions, greenhouse gas emission limits, and a reduction to VMTs, which is basically going to create a ban to the ability to do road projects from the information we've gathered from the transportation folks. So had drafted this letter, kind of advising the committee against this and wanted to look for support from the board on that. We put a spot for all your signatures, or we could just do it as the board chair. Did draft a letter both for the House and for the Senate side, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll just make a little comment. I know this was really last minute, but it was thrown in there, I think, to try and get it passed without people really understanding or seeing it. So I appreciate everybody taking the time. It's very, very important because none of our road projects will be able to continue at all. So it won't even matter where or what funding we get. If this goes through with the omnibus bill, yeah, it won't matter. We won't get any money. None of our projects will be able to be filled.
So I guess at this time, we'll entertain a motion to send in this letter on behalf of the board. With that, I just entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Advisory updates. Administrator Kelly?
All right, I get to start out. Very good. Just on since the last meeting, the board and I was also able to attend the Soil and Water joint meeting with board. I thought that was always, I enjoy that meeting. We have a great partnership with that group, and it was good for them to get time in front of the board and discuss. I'll put in a shameless plug that their tree sale is still continuing. They sold over 49,000 trees last year, so they're doing it online this year. So if folks are looking to purchase some bare root trees, that's a great affordable way to do it. So had the opportunity to meet with Jolene Foss, the Economic Development Partnership, and a couple different businesses that are looking at moving into Wright County. So tried to make a few connections there with her, as well as folks in Otsego on that. So promising. People definitely want to be here. Also, you may have seen that the Census Bureau released some new information estimating that Wright County is now over 148,000 residents, which makes us the highest percentage increase in the state. So we're the fastest growing county in the state. Projecting that as of the next census, we may be up close to 178,000. So things keep moving. So with that, I will pass the mic.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Emergency Services Board met. A couple things of interest which I passed along to Administrator Kelly. It was suggested that appropriate staff look into the cybersecurity training. There's some in April and some in May. So Administrator Kelly can look into that. MRC met, Minnesota Rural Counties, 3-hour meeting the other day. There was a lot of relevant information that was gone over with legislative updates. One of particular interest for us was that ditch registry possibility where we'd have to get pre-approval for ditch projects. That didn't make it really past square one on any bills so far, but it could come back in conference and committee time later in the year. But for now, we don't have any concern on that moving forward. They're still discussing the cannabis bill potentially, and I guess a lot of states have been able to get extra tax money from this, but from what we heard, Minnesota is not as interested in the other 18 states in getting this same tax for some reason, which I guess that's a driving factor in some of the states. But there's a lot of unanswered questions, MRC told us at the meeting. There's concern, maybe more so in other counties, but I'm gonna look into it here. DNR owned land and what the tax base looks like on that compared to regular landowners. And so I'm gonna check into that and get kind of an inventory of what our land looks like by parcel and acreage, and see what that would look like if a private citizen owned it, how much they'd be taxed compared to what the DNR would be taxed, or is being taxed. Because some don't think it's fair that they're taking this and not paying the taxes. So I don't know if it's a big difference either way in Wright County till I take a closer look. Then there were some other counties, especially the smaller ones with more snow this year, but they were looking for emergency snow relief for removal because of the extra tax on staff and equipment this year. So they're looking at a possibility for that. And there was a lot of other things, but I'm not gonna try and summarize any further on a 3-hour meeting, but it was productive. Wright County Fair met, they encourage use of their website, which they're plugging in more information all the time, so people can take a look at that. We had a joint ditch meeting, as we do annually, with about 5 other counties in Glencoe, and interesting, some of the counties have, almost like a half-inch thick stack of ditch projects compared to what we have. It's same or similar concerns that they have that we have with ditches. One interesting thing a county shared is that there was a township resisting paying for a culvert replacement or alteration, and they were looking at other options, if any, for a refuse to payment on that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting how that plays out. That's all I had then, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I have, this last week, we went to the AMC leadership, but I'm going to let those ladies talk about that a little bit because I'm kind of excited to talk about the extension service. We met as a subcommittee to pick out the farmers, family farmer of Wright County this year. So that's very excited. That'll be announced this April, and I actually asked if I could go with when we get to acknowledge them and let them know. So I'm really excited about that coming up. So I'll probably post some pictures or send some pictures to Lee he can share with everyone. So I think that's just a great thing that Wright County does, is to acknowledge that. And a greater, being we're out here in the rural area, kind of goes along with what Mike was talking about. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you. I'll come back at the end, so. Commissioner Holland?
Chair and Commissioners, I did attend the Leadership Council, or what a conference. And yeah, it was very good, and it was nice to network with a lot of other commissioners. And last week, along with the HHS, we had a HHS meeting. We have every other month, and a lot of discussion about homelessness and what our drive. We've heard a lot of good response about churches reaching out because of the discussion we've had with including churches and pastors and Love Inc. And I've received also some correspondence. So very excited that we have a county that is embracing the idea of, looking into our homeless situation in Wright County. And other than that, I'll let you talk, Tina.
Sure, I'm just going to give an update on the Great River Regional Library Board that I'm a part of. I'm getting to know the other commissioners very well on that board. And the Finance Committee met to discuss the budget for next year, and the funding for the Great River Regional Library is determined by library usage and tax capacity. So Wright County is now the largest supporter of the library. It's a joint, system with Benton, Morrison, Sherburne, Stearns, and Todd counties. So with that increase, or being the top one, we are allowed an additional member, a commissioner on the board, and I would highly recommend that, to have that additional say in the direction of the library system. Since I joined the board this year, there's been many public comments submitted via email and presented to the board in regards to possibly inappropriate material in the library, and I will be meeting with the executive director to review that process of curating the collection and the standards used to review those materials, as well as the appeals process for those objecting to the accepted books. So it's been kind of some really in-depth discussions, and it's important for the community standards.
Thank you. So 2 weeks ago already, Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership met again. We are moving forward, and we chose a firm to work with on creating our purpose and needs document and moving into the Pell process. We will be working with Bolton and Mink on that. Then we're also doing some further discussions on how the organization will then transition as Sherburne and Wright County have a new joint powers as being the LGU, the local government unit, and they'll be the ones that will be going forward into the Pell process. Then the consortium of the cities, townships, and counties will likely transition into a nonprofit and be more of a lobbying effort going forward as we come out of this Pell process and going into the Tier 1 and Tier 2 environmentals. So more to come on it, but the organization still intends and has voted as such to contribute a large portion of the funding for this purpose and needs and Pell process, well over $400,000, which will take us through most of the expenses this year for this process and potentially part of next year. So with that, we still have ourselves about 8-9 minutes here before we can move to the Health and Human Services Board portion of the meeting. So at this time, we will take a short 6-7 minute recess and we'll come back. It is 9:45. We'll call the board meeting back to order. At this time, we are making a first time ever move here in Wright County in moving the Health and Human Services Board meeting to inside the county board meeting. So to begin this process, the first item agenda would be to approve a resolution setting the regular meeting schedule for the Health and Human Services Board meeting at this timed item or timed area within the county board meeting. You'll still be wearing your Health and Human Services and your public health hat at this time. It's just a portion of the county board meeting. You will be transitioning into your Health and Human Services capacity. So at this time, we would like to get the board to make a motion and a second to approve the resolution 23.02.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. This is a resolution changing the schedule, changing the schedule of the regular Health and Human Services meeting to the Tuesday mornings. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, resolution vote, Commissioner Catchmark?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Now moving on, we have the Health and Human Services Board consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that anyone would like to remove for discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda for the Health and Human Services Board is approved unanimously. Now moving on to timed agenda items. The first item is to adopt Resolution 2303 proclaiming April 3rd through 9th of 2023 as Public Health Week in Wright County. Jamie, do you have some words?
Right, thank you, Board, and thank you for the change. I think it makes a lot of sense to hold our Health and Human Services Board meeting concurrently with the county board meeting. I will invite Public Health Director Sarah Grotius to come up and just say a few things about our Public Health Week and about our public health staff.
Yeah, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you very much for considering this resolution. This would be, well, it's the 25th year of National Public Health Week, but our agency has celebrated it for many years as well. And we are going back to hosting our annual salad bar that the staff put on to celebrate Public Health Week by inviting others to join us, which I think is just such a gracious way of doing that. And of course, you all received your invitation for Thursday as well. But other than that, I do have a resolution here that talks about the benefits of public health and why we celebrate Public Health Week here in Minnesota and in Wright County. And I can read it if that is your pleasure.
Yes, please.
All right. So, proclaim April 3rd through the 9th, 2023 as Public Health Week in Wright County. Whereas the public health community protects and improves the health of all people, working to make all communities great places to live, work, and play. And whereas public health plays a crucial role in promoting good health and greater longevity for Minnesotans by working to immunize people against disease, identifying and controlling environmental health hazards and infectious diseases, improving the health of mothers and children, and promoting healthy behaviors such as increased physical activity, good nutrition, and smoking cessation. And whereas Minnesota's public health professionals are on the leading edge of developing new strategies to detect and control disease outbreaks, address emerging environmental contaminants, communicate valuable information about healthcare costs and quality, prepare for large-scale emergencies, and promote healthy communities. And whereas public health professionals collaborate with partners outside of the health sector, including city planners, transportation officials, education officials, and private sector businesses, recognizing that other sectors can influence health outcomes. Whereas in communities across the United States, individuals are changing the way they care for their health by avoiding tobacco use, eating healthier, increasing physical activity, and preventing unintentional injuries at home and in the workplace. And whereas efforts to adequately support public health and the prevention of disease and injury can continue to transform a health system focused on treating illness into a health system focused on preventing disease and injury and promoting wellness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Health and Human Services Board for the County of Wright proclaim April 3rd through the 9th as Public Health Week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
And do we have a motion on that one? I don't think we did.
Roll call vote.
Or, we didn't have a motion first,
We
though.
didn't have a motion yet,
No, I
but I'll
need a
make the
mo-
motion.
Yep, a motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland,
Absolutely.
proclaiming April 3rd through 9th as Public Health Week here in Wright County. Resolution vote, Commissioner Catchmark?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second item on the timed agenda here would be the Health and Human Services 2022 Annual Report.
Right, thank you, commissioners. And since before my time, Health and Human Services has always created an annual report of the work that we've done in the prior year. We believe that this provides transparency to our public, and we're just kind of proud of the work that we do, and we would like to share that with you today. What would happen upon approval of the annual report is that we would then put it on our website, where I believe currently we have the 2021 annual report. So this is just and just to give you an idea, we have really honed this report, I believe, down to kind of the bare necessities. It used to be a quite extensive report with numbers of staff and lots of activities, types of things, and this is more, I would say, a summary overview. We've also been working on creating the annual report to be more digitally friendly versus a paper document, but I will be sending this out to a lot of our partners and providers that we do this work with out in the county. So with that, I'd like to just go ahead and share this with you. So I can dispense, I think, with the message from the director. Obviously, the big three things that happened this year was our new building. We also opened up, along with Community Dental Center, the dental clinic, so that's part of this, and then the Opioid Settlement Advisory Council that was developed in 2022. So a very productive year in those kind of big three overarching areas that actually probably consumed quite a bit of our time in 2022. Our executive summary is that we continued our trend in improving services delivered to our customers. We do have performance thresholds that we get through the Department of Human Services, DHS, and we have met or exceeded the state's performance threshold in 10 out of 11 measures. The one area that you'll see, it's in red, so it's rather blatant out there, I guess, is that we did not meet was in the child pregnancy within 12 months. However, we took measures to fix that, and we're currently have, ever since this came out, actually been above that threshold. I believe right now we're at about 40, we're at over 40%, with the threshold being 35%. Let's see, what else? So anyhow, you can see here that, again, over the 11 measures, we exceeded over 10 of the measures. I think our work is exemplary in that area. And what the 4 areas that they break it down with at the state as far as measurement is economic security, safety and security, stability, and opportunities for youth development. We also, on this screen at the very bottom, you'll see that we invite our constituency to visit our Health and Human Services scorecard, where we have other measures and how we measure our work in other areas within our agency. We also have our 4 strategic imperatives. I would say, I believe we had these before the county developed I'm going to miss the word now, the overarching areas that the county has that we are in alignment with. So our 4 areas for our strategic imperatives is program development, which provides our community with services that results in improved outcomes and demonstrates progressive financial responsibility. Culture and development, that we're guided by core values focused on mission, fully supportive of employee professional growth with clear and shared expectations. Community service, outreach, and education to focus attention on the needs of our constituents to help the public and key stakeholders understand our work and its value. And finally, efficiency and quality, results from personal accountability, up-to-date tools and practices, outcome-based approaches, and continuous improvement. Actually, we have a continuous improvement meeting later today, so we do take that seriously. We do like to, in each of our annual reports, kind of highlight areas that we would like to draw attention to, and in this case, we have our Navigating Hope area. Navigating Hope is a Wright County HHS process through connection and collaboration with families to bring safety and well-being to their children. With increased risk intelligence and rigorous safety planning, we see safer, more healthy families and kids in Wright County. I'd say to the county's bottom line, another goal of this is to keep kids from going into foster care where, of course, there's a bottom line issue with the county as far as a levy amount. You'll see that our journey and outcomes to navigating hope, which I believe we've been doing for going on 2 years now, 3 years now, that we've reduced drug testing costs by 61%. We've decreased the number of out-of-home foster care placements by 10%, and that's again with more families and more people in Wright County. So I'd say it's kind of like a double-edged. Even if we were the same, I would say we reduced it because we have more kids in Wright County than we did the prior year. Decreased the number of children needing adoption by 45%, and reduced the number of children entering out-of-home placements due to parental drug use by 4%. We'd love to see that number, decrease the number of kids and increase the percentage. Reduce average time to permanency for kids in care up to 12 months by 17.8%, and for the reduced permanency from 12 to 23 months by 32%, and from 24 months by 6.6% from 2020. Again, it's getting kids, so if they do go into foster care, out of foster care faster and back with their families. Our financial report. You'll notice it says 2020 community-directed expenditures. This always looks this way. We got the report from our cost, our direct cost care report. We get it in, believe this came in June of 2022. So it's, released in September of 2022. So even though it looks like it's an older date, it's actually the most up-to-date information that we have. But I'd like to draw your attention to the information that's on the left-hand screen and side of this screen. And you'll see here is that Wright County ranks 4th lowest per capita of total costs in Minnesota. We're only showing you the neighboring counties. So that basically means what that represents is I believe it represents the dollar per person that lives in Wright County to provide health and human services. And you'll see like Hennepin County is almost double what ours is. So even though they have a lot more people, it costs a lot more money to bring the health and human services to people in other counties. So I believe we do a really good job in this area. Well, I know we do. Our financial report continued is our public health expenditures. You'll see there on the left-hand side, and where we're sitting with the levy percentage and our expenditures on the right-hand side. As you can see, a lot of the, and actually from the former slide, most of the dollars that Health and Human Services, goes through Health and Human Services is through medical assistance and other health-related expenditures. Trying to get it to move on. Let's see. You'll see a great picture of our commissioners from last year. Our organizational chart. So if you were online looking at this, you could click on that organizational chart because we realize it isn't the clearest, and that would bring you to a link that would share with you our org chart. And then the committees that we host is on the bottom there. Finally, toward the end here, we have pictures of our supervisors and our leadership team. And with that, concludes our annual report for Health and Human Services. So with I would appreciate, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, if with approval, we will go ahead and put this out to the public.
Is there any discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to accept the 2022 annual report.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Annual report approved unanimously.
Thank you.
And now we're up to the approval of the committee minutes that are submitted here within the packet.
Right, and actually, I believe Commissioner Holland did report out on the HSAC committee when she was talking about the homelessness item, so I believe that's been covered. So we did meet, I think, 2 Mondays ago for our Human Service Advisory Committee.
And Mr. Chair, we do have the minutes in from the 2/13 minute, I believe it's the last meeting from February.
Okay. So
Approved.
we'll need an approval of the committee minutes as well as the Health and Human Services Board meeting minutes as well.
I'll make that motion,
thank you.
Mr. Chair.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Catchmark,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland to approve the committee minutes as well as the March Health and Human Services Board meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business here or anything that the board members would like to address prior to adjourning?
Mr. Chair, just a quick note, I will be gone next week at the Prescription Illicit Drug Conference, and I am on the opioid settlement committee, and part of that was just to go to this conference and kind of gain that knowledge and education on what we're working with this RFP, that is actually going out mid-April to give grants using the opioid settlement money. So to address prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and kind of the law enforcement piece of that as well. So it's nationwide conference. So there's I've heard great things, lots of knowledge, and lots of different aspects that you're going to learn. So I thought it would be very appropriate if I'm going to be on this committee. I need to be wise about it. So, and I'm joining the staff from HHS down there.
I look forward to finding out what you guys learn and bring back. Very good. Thanks for sharing that, Commissioner Dietrich. Is there any other business? If not, we're adjourned at 10:01.